Yes, guys, welcome to FPL Insight. This is Chasing Green Arrows. I'm Gianni, the FPL guy. I'm joined by Football Insider Dean Jones on what is a very special evening. It is time for England versus Italy this evening, and because of that, we're going early. Dean, you excited about tonight's game?
Not really, no. You're going to relegate us. You beat us in the final of the Euros. Now you're going to relegate us in the Nations League. I don't really care about the Nations League. I don't think many people do, but still something you could do without being relegated in international football. And also, this is supposed to be a revenge tonight. This is our revenge mission against you. But you've obviously won the big one, so you won't really care either way. But yeah, it'll be an interesting game. I mean, it's a big international break because it genuinely is one that people should be watching because it's where we get all our info for the World Cup. Basically, these are the teams and the setups that we're going to be seeing for the tournament. As an England fan, like it's hard to ever get too excited ahead of a tournament because Southgate never really puts his foot on the gas, let's say. But to be fair to him, he's got a really good tournament record, so like we should probably be excited. Like, let's see what happens. But yeah, look forward to the show tonight. Yeah, just to give us a bit of different chat before we sit down and watch a game.
Guys, so good to see so many familiar faces and some new ones in the chat tonight. Hello, Tiffany and FPL Focus and Vindy and Frode and Colm and I'm 1974. Good evening to you all. Thank you for joining us in this earlier time slot. I'm sure people are going to start getting notifications around now and be jumping on. Though we've gone early. Loads will probably be in at 7 o'clock when we're saying goodbye. We're keen to watch the build up tonight because if you're watching in the UK, the game's on Channel 4 and England versus Italy. For the Nations League games, Channel 4 have got Jules Breach is the host and Kelly Summers is the touchline reporter. Two friends of the show. So we need to watch their build-up, right?
Yeah, two FPL legends. Yeah, that is it's great that they both got such a good gig. I'm pleased for them both because they've worked hard for that. I mean, Jules, we know, is the hardest working person in football. She's got every single gig you can imagine. But yeah, this is our biggest for sure. Yeah, leading into an England game. That's mad.
Cool.
Fair play to her. Yeah, I was very pleased for her. I sent her a message when she got that.
Yeah, I don't know who's going to be in the studio tonight, but I know I think they had Joe Cole and Owen. Yeah. But yeah, look forward to it. They'll have some cool stuff. I like what Channel 4 are doing. Colm says, Dean and Gianni, even Ant and Deck know what side that's supposed to be on. Yeah, it's a fair point. I was thrown on the intro when I was like, I think I'm usually... There we go. Dean and Gianni and Dean. I mean, I don't mind either way. It's just what we're used to, isn't it?
It is. It does throw you a little bit. It looks like I'm the host the other way around, and you do a bit more talking on this show than me. So I think you're now in your rightful place.
Cheers, mate. Appreciate that. I just want to divert our attention to... Okay, let's move off tonight because predictions tonight shouldn't really matter too much. You're right, it's Nations League. But the World Cup, let's just touch on who do you think is going to win the World Cup, Dean? Because today I put a bet on Spain winning the World Cup.
Did you?
15-2. Fifth favourites. Therefore, there's 4 teams more fancied than Spain. Therefore, I got good odds. Best manager, Luis Enrique. The only team that caused Italy problems in the Euros was Spain. Wink, wink. I just think that Spain have got a real good chance.
Yeah, it's a really tough one. I mean, look, Brazil are the favourites, and that's because they've got the most ridiculous weaponry in terms of attacking options. But that's not why you normally win World Cups.
Yeah,
you normally win it because you've got a good defence. And I'll tell you what, France have got a lot of defenders. Like a lot of defenders. Like they've got such a headache to actually narrow it down to decide who they pick. So because France have got that, plus the fact they've got a ridiculous front line in Kylian Mbappe, I'm going France. I think
even with Deschamps.
Yeah, even with it, I think Mbappe is going to do what he did at PSG and just become owner of the France national team.
The centre-backs at France are ridiculous to the point where Laporte has to go and play for Spain because he can't get in the French team.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll speak about a French centre-back later in Team of the Season, and we've got an awesome feature coming up on today's show, guys. We are looking at the FPL Team of the Season so far, and I really want your take. This isn't actually going to be an opinion piece, but I want your opinions on it too. We've gone for the points. It's really interesting when you look at some of the picks that some actually haven't really been mass owned. So yeah, we'll perhaps revisit a bit of World Cup chat later in the show. I'm seeing in the chat Hassan saying Germany. Yeah, Fair. I mean, they're a team in transition at the moment,
Well,
Germany,
they're a
aren't
bounce
they?
back team, aren't they? Like this is not the team that was that had disappeared off the face of the earth and were embarrassed at the Euros and stuff. This is not that team anymore. They're definitely more of a threat than they were. So yeah, they're probably about the same odds as Spain, I would have imagined. So yeah, there's that. Look, England are right up there. Like England's record recently, the Nations League, and then in the Euros, the last World Cup, coming to this one, like we are a team that should be trying to win this tournament.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's probably not going to happen in Qatar for us. I don't see it. But hopefully it's us.
I look forward to seeing it, and we'll let you know the.
It won't be
team news.
Belgium. It's never going to be Belgium. That's what we've learned.
I'm sad for Belgium. I'd love
It
it to
never
be Belgium,
happened.
but
It's
you're
never
right.
going to happen. That's my prediction. I'm sorry if there's anyone Belgian watching.
Okay, let's move on. We'll probably revisit a bit of international chat in the Q&A later. Remember, we're going to be only on till 7:00 tonight, and at 6:45, I think we'll probably get team news. I don't know.
Yeah.
Premier League, it's always an hour. I don't know about internationals. It's probably
So, yeah.
5 minutes either side.
Might be a bit earlier, to be honest. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, good stuff, guys. We're going to move on to fresh off the press. Here we go. Dean, big news this week with injuries. Already in the internationals. We love internationals for loads of reasons. We want our players getting minutes. We want our players getting goals. But we don't want our players getting too many minutes. And we don't want our players getting too many injuries. And already we have seen Perisic, Isak, Patterson, Luka Dean. Those four are pretty big FPL options, all going off injured or could be out for a while. Yeah. What do you think the status is of some of those players?
Oh my god! Like, how annoying is that? Perisic. It was Højbjerg, I think, that injured Perisic, wasn't it?
And if he did that as well, like he had to come off.
So his own teammate has taken him out. That's not great, and that's not good for me or you because we got Perisic. We need that. We need him coming back from that. I think that's the biggest one. I think that's the so far. I mean, that's so significant. Like, a lot of us had either stuck with him or just got him in. And we're all backing him to have a really, really big time in the few weeks coming back in off the international break. So, yeah, even Perisic, we have to wait and see what the extent of that is. But yeah, it's not ideal, is it? Højbjerg injuring Perisic.
Yeah, that's funny in a way. Spurs on Spurs. Isak's one that was quite popular in the wild card, and those that brought him in on the wild card got 9 points against Bournemouth. Isak, he got a penalty, and then he got the 3 bonus, which often happens if you're a forward and score. But he's withdrew from the Sweden squad because he had a little feeling was the quote. So I don't know how serious that is, but he's headed back to England, so he won't play at all in the international break. This might be a classic case of my club's more important than my country at the moment because I'm the new big number 9 at Newcastle and I want to be fresh. But Nathan Patterson's another one. I said to you, Dean, last week, like there I was deliberating between Emerson and Nico Williams in my wild card for the 4 million defender of choice. And this guy, Nathan Patterson, went and got a clean sheet against Liverpool, clean sheet against West Ham. He's got Southampton up next. Everton look all right. And again, like Patterson could be out. He had a slight issue, I think.
Did he? Yeah, I didn't actually see that one. But Patterson, I mean, people have been waiting for Patterson to come good for so long that just as he's got in there, he's finally made his mark in that team. And like I remember when he signed for them, and I was like, he's going to do well. I got him straight in my team. Like as soon as he was signed, I was like, he'll do really well. So yeah, this is a really big blow. It says he injured his lower leg in an innocuous challenge on the wet Hampden Park surface. That's really not good. Pointing to his left leg between the ankle and the knee. So, yeah, not a good sign there. I mean, we're only on like day 2 or 3 of internationals here. We've got another like week or so to go. So, not
those teams haven't even played. And then Luka Dean sidelined with suspected stress fracture to his ankle. Again, he got a little bit of love on the wild card, and Villa did go and keep a clean sheet. The other thing to watch out for in the international break, guys, isn't just injuries. And we'll report more on Friday and Monday's show on injuries. Some of the South American players are coming back super late. And do you remember we saw this with Rafinha quite a lot? It was always touch and go on the especially if Leeds played at 12:30 or 3 o'clock on the Saturday, after an international break, he often would be flying back from South America like late on like a Thursday night or a Friday. And you're thinking, he's only going to be in England 12 hours and he's got to play a game of football. And this is happening again to some of the Leeds players. By pure coincidence, the guy that's replaced Rafinha, Sinistera, I think he's coming back really late from South America as well. So one to monitor.
Yeah, exactly that. Keith, it's time to get Sessegnon in now. Maybe. But as Nuclear says, game week 9 wildcarders have no worries. Absolutely stress-free. That is true. There's a fair few people, I bet, that really don't care what happens in this international break because they're safe. They are safe from all the damage that could be done.
And Keith says about Sessegnon, but I mean, regardless of the Perisic injury, you could argue Sessegnon might get a little run in the team. It was really interesting. And last time out against Leicester, we saw for the first time ever at Spurs, Sessegnon and Perisic start together. Perisic played on the right. We know he's two-footed. So, yeah, one to monitor, Keith, because it's pretty much comes down to, does Conte want to pick as first choice Sessegnon or Emerson Royale? And either way, Perisic goes and plays on the opposite side. So, one to monitor, because Emerson Royale's been okay, but he's not exactly pulling up trees, is he?
No, he's not. No. Jed Spence will probably get his chance after the international break. True. Like at some point, they will give him a game, and obviously the schedule is going to get super hectic. So we will see him come in, and Matt Doherty too. Obviously, is an option that Tottenham have got coming into the equation. So it's going to be tricky at Tottenham to predict who's going to be in, but I still think that once Perisic is fit, you can usually back as the one banker. I think that like I'll be completely comfortable sticking with him as long as this isn't a bad injury.
Me too. I'm going to be keeping Perisic unless Conte tells us otherwise. The fact that he did that though to come off is like, oh, okay, that's fairly serious. Like you knew straight away.
And people are asking, by the way, just there about Doherty. He just hasn't been fully fit. He just hasn't been up to speed for a Conte team. Basically, like he's okay, but he's not as fit as you need to be. So that's why he hasn't been seen.
And it's interesting you add the caveat of for a Conte team. It's so true. Like there's being fit and there's being fit for a Conte team, and they are two different,
totally different.
Mikey's got a nice, looking a little bit rogue, a little bit differential. And look, it feels too early to talk captaincy in game week 9, but let's do it because Haaland plays Man United, and now that's at the Etihad. And the way United have been defending, sure, it's been okay of late. But people will be put off by that fixture because it's Man United. In real time, I think Haaland versus United is a really nice fixture, and I'll be captaining Haaland. But especially United fans and some others, perhaps those a tad older, see United and go, oh, tough fixture. Look, maybe it is. But you might want to think outside the box. And if so, Salah has Brighton, but loads of us don't own Salah. Arsenal play Tottenham, so it rules out maybe both Arsenal and Spurs players. Maddison, who I think if I was on a wild card, he'd be one of the first names on my team sheet. I think he's definitely the best mid-priced midfielder. He goes to Nottingham. He hosts Nottingham Forest in Leicester. East Midlands derby. Forest have been arguably the worst defence of the league so far. I think they probably have been. Good fixture that, Maddison.
It is, yeah. I mean, he's one of the most informed players in the league, actually, which is saying something because Leicester are the most out-of-form team in the league. Yet somehow he's still keeping his standards ridiculously high. That's a really hard thing to do. Actually, he'll be unaffected by the international break, so he'll be fit. James Maddison definitely emerging as a player that we all want. And not just we want, I think other teams want too. I don't think he'll be at Leicester for very long.
Yep. Yeah. He has Bournemouth after that. I must admit, I'm looking at it going, have I made a bit of a howler on my wild card? I didn't go there because of Spurs fixture and I couldn't accommodate.
Palace, Leeds, Wolves after that. Like, it's a nice run for Leicester, but don't forget Leicester are bottom of the league. And like
they are, but they're a team that score.
They actually are not, they've not been playing that badly, and then they just get blown away. Like there was that Brighton game, it was quite close, and they lost 5-2. And there's Tottenham game, it was quite close, and they lost 6-2.
Yeah.
Not really a true reflection of where they were. It's a bit like when Sean Dyche was sacked at Burnley. Burnley were in every game and they were losing, but it wasn't quite a reflection on how things were going.
Yeah,
obviously things didn't go well ultimately, but Leicester are actually better than Burnley too because they score more goals.
Yeah. Like Leicester, we don't need them to win football matches. We just need them to score goals if we're buying Maddison, and they look like they're a team that will score every week. So yeah. I must admit, if I make a transfer and I don't have an injury enforced transfer, Maddison would be the one I'd be trying to get in this week. But I feel like I'll probably have to just go without because you can't have them all. But he's the one I really want.
Yeah.
Really saying good morning. Love that. We've got guys coming in from all over the world on what is the international break. I saw earlier Matty say Poland were going to win the World Cup. Guessing Matty's from Poland. Good to see Luke in the chat. He's a bit late, and I'm sure there'll be a few late ones tonight. Knowing we're on at 6 instead of 7, we want to watch the build up to the England-Italy game. We want to support Jules and Kelly, both working for Channel 4, friends of the show, of course. Leo with the big Forza Italia, good man, Leo. Love that. He was a Baresi fan, Leo, from back in the day. Yeah, what a centre back he was. And by the way, like all this about Martinez being a short centre back, I think Baresi was about 5'8", 5'9".
Yeah,
arguably the world's best centre back.
Yeah, 100%.
So there we have it.
Yeah.
Good stuff, guys. Well, lovely to see you. Do get your questions in. We'll try and get to some later, but also through the show. So feel free to ask questions and do give us a like and a subscribe. I can see only 20 of you have given us a thumbs up. CH, you know your role in this. You can be pushing this with me. He says, what do we think of the advantages and disadvantages of wildcard 9, which is great. You get the international break. If you wildcard in 13, you get to take advantage of Man City and Arsenal having a blank in 12.
Oh, yeah.
So you can sell them for 12 and then bring them back in 13.
Right, yeah.
No one is going to have triple Arsenal in 13. But if you're on a wild card, you could go triple Arsenal in 13. And I think they've got good fixtures from 13. I think
Southampton, Forest, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Interesting.
I'd be tempted to wait.
Yeah, I can't. But
yeah, not me now.
Done. That bridge has been crossed. But yeah, that is interesting. I was like, why 13? But yeah, I keep forgetting that there is that new blank that's come in. It's really weird. Like Premier League football, just suddenly like you forget so much so quick. And you've been gone a few days. But yeah, Arsenal are still a team. We're about to talk about it now. To take seriously, aren't they? Like I didn't think we'd have to take them as seriously as we are, but they're the real deal.
Proper real deal team. And actually, this brings us on to our next point. It's the star of the show tonight. We're going to be talking about something really, really cool. Stay with us for FPL tips and chips. Here we go. So we have put together the team of the season so far. Now, look, we could have spent hours poring over expected data and underlying statistics to say, this guy's been as good as this guy, even though he's not at the points, but we put him in our team of the season. I thought, no, let's just go for pure, unadulterated points. So who has been the best performing 11 based on points? Now, unsurprisingly, actually, it's a back three. And we thought earlier in the season, it was like all the love for defenders, but as the weeks have gone on, we've seen the forwards and the attacking players have outperformed the defenders. And we can see that by this formation. Trippier on 35 points is the lowest point scorer in the 11, but gets in. So let's start at the back and talk Pope. Dean, he's had more saves than any other keeper. He's had more bonus points than any other keeper. And with that, the most points of any other keeper. We like Newcastle for clean sheets, but also they seem to encourage all these low XG chances against them. Like loads of teams against Newcastle seem to shoot from wide or shoot from distance. It's good for Pope.
They do, yeah. And they've become the draw masters, really, of the Premier League at the moment. But it won't be long until they turn some of those into wins. Like Newcastle were on the verge of something pretty special. We've seen that in their transfer strategy. I think we're seeing that reflected in their performances. Pope and Trippier being in this team is not a surprise, and I think it's a combination that a lot of people are going to be looking to get. I think you've got it, haven't you? You got Pope and Trippier?
On my wild card, I went Pope and Trippier last week. Yeah. And they bloody conceded to Bournemouth, but were unlucky.
That's bad luck. But Pope, look, he's a really, really good goalkeeper. Even outside of FPL and like analysing like the reasons you would have him in this team, like most teams in the Premier League would have this guy. Like he's seriously good. Yeah. But that's now being reflected in this game. In a season where it hasn't been easy to find a reliable goalkeeper.
Yeah. I think if I was on wildcard this week, I'd still definitely be going Pope and probably double Newcastle defence. Let's go Saliba, because he's the guy that's got the headlines here with 44 points. He's got 2 goals, Dean, and with that, he's had the most bonus points of any defender. He didn't score on at all for Marseille last season. 36 games, 0 goals. He's had 2 in 7 in the Premier League. He looks like a threat, and Arsenal are keeping clean sheets. Like, he's so cheap, 4.9. Have you owned him at all? I haven't.
No, don't think so. Might have done for 1 week actually. I might have brought him for 1 week, but well, he still doesn't seem like an asset. Like because you're like, well, you'd rather get a fullback in and all this, but like he is going forward for corners. Arsenal are much tougher at the back now with him. Ramsdale's obviously a very good goalkeeper. Arsenal really do look hard to break down. He's waited quite a while to see if he'd be given a chance at Arsenal, and now he's got it. He's taken it with both hands. He's been one of the players of the season so far, like throughout the Premier League. And obviously, as you say, like the 2 goals that he's got have helped him get up to 44 points, which nobody saw that coming. Nobody saw that coming. But yeah, not just one of the best players in the Premier League, might be the best valued player in this game right now.
Yeah, I think you're right. CH, I love that you've calculated this, CH. I'm guessing you have, and this isn't a punt. Like, you've gone through and totaled them up, which is awesome. This team would be in the top 50 overall, and that's without making a transfer and improving it every week. And I guess that would be a set and forget Haaland armband, and that's cool too.
Yeah.
So it's funny, sometimes we tinker too much, and I'm pretty sure this squad would come in at the right price as well with a really dirt cheap bench, because it's premium. You've got Kane, Haaland and De Bruyne, but outside of that, very few mid-priced, Tony and Rashford and Martinelli have all gone up in value, but they start the season on quite modest prices. There's no Trent in there. There's no, ignore the bench. There's 2 cheap defenders in Saliba and Trippier at the start of the season. So yeah, looking good. Let's move on to the midfield. Martinelli, is he someone you're going to hold through these tricky Arsenal fixtures? Because they've got a couple of tough games, and then they've got a blank in 12, Dean. I'm not sure what I'm going to do in Martinelli. I really want to keep him, because I just think he's a long-term hold, because he's been such good value. But at the same time, there's other midfielders that are catching my eye.
Yeah,
Maddison.
Basically Maddison. I got on Martinelli late, obviously, because I started on Saka, then came back down to Martinelli. And now I've kind of missed Martinelli's most of his points. So, like, if I jump off him again, I feel like he might start scoring. They've got Tottenham and Liverpool next. Then Leeds, as you say, and then that blank. So it might be a case of get off him until after that blank, I think. I think that might be wise.
Yeah.
I think so.
I think I'm tempted too. If I had the money in the bank to go Martinelli to Maddison, I would. But again, that was going to require surgery. I don't think I can go there. But let's go Gross and Rashford. 2 that I think these are the 2 that have probably gone under the radar in terms of ownership, but the points are really impressive. Like Martinelli, I think is the most owned midfielder in the game. Gross and Rashford, not many have jumped on them. Yet 40 and 42 points. They've both had big price rises. Gross started the season at 5.5. I think Rashford started the season maybe 6.5. But I'm not sure I'd want either of these guys long term. One, Brighton manager, we don't know where or if Gross will be a starter. And then with Rashford, I'm still on the fence, because there hasn't been too many fixtures to judge. And then also just the rotation we could see. But De Bruyne, Dean, he is someone that's getting a lot of love. 45 points. He's had 6 assists already this season. De Bruyne for Salah felt like the right switch last week. It's a switch many made.
Yeah.
If you're on De Bruyne, you're sitting on him for a while, aren't you?
Yeah, I kind of regret I didn't make that switch. I went Bernardo and got in somebody else as well, rather than going just directly to another premium player from Salah. I do regret it, and especially as I was talking up like the fact that De Bruyne and Haaland is the best combination in the Premier League, probably in the world, in terms of attacking point of view. Like, it's the new Son and Kane. They're going to get so many points between them this season. A friend of mine who's actually very good at this game, he's decided actually that he's going De Bruyne captain for the foreseeable future, and he's done it. He's done it this season. He's done it since the first game week, and he said it's been very hard so far to ride, because it's had its pitfalls.
Yeah,
but he's adamant that it will pay off. I can see where he's coming from, because when De Bruyne
those
bangs,
that went Salah
bangs.
captain all season.
Yeah,
De Bruyne's outperformed Salah.
That's the thing. So I think De Bruyne is, as I say, I do kind of regret not making that change so far. And And even if you look at it, you're like, oh, well, their next game is Man United. Man United at home, De Bruyne,
Yeah.
that's fine.
Yeah.
That is
It's a good
fine. Like,
fixture.
it's a good fixture for Man City, that is. And they've got Southampton, and then they've got Liverpool. We'll talk about that a bit later on because that's a big game coming up.
Yeah, that Liverpool game is going to be interesting. For those that don't have Salah and have De Bruyne, you go into that fixture going, I'm going to need Salah at some point soon. And De Bruyne has Liverpool and then a blank. So do you sell him in the blank, or do you go Salah for Man City, or do you prefer the Man City double up? Let's talk about forwards. Many would look at this and go Haaland, Kane, and it'll be Mitrovic. Or they'd go Haaland, Kane, and it'll be Jesus. Well, Ivan Toney has outscored both those guys. Toney has outperformed Mitro and Jesus, who have both been incredible FPL assets. 47 points. He's got Bournemouth up next. I sold Toney on my wild card off the back of a 17-pointer. Now, fortunately, he did go in blank against Arsenal, but I must admit he was the one guy I was most reluctant to sell. Competition for places up top. I mean, this three does that look right to you? Would you say these have been the three standout without looking at the points?
I mean, they have been, haven't they? I'd have probably thought Mitro might have been, but I guess Toney got that hat trick, didn't he? But Toney, as you know, I don't really take seriously because he plays for Brentford. But now that he's in the England squad, and I've been listening to his interviews and stuff, and the way he talks, he's really won me over a bit in terms of like his confidence and stuff, and what he believes he can achieve, and how he feels like he should be part of this setup. He's not actually in the squad for the game tonight, so we won't be seeing him in this game. Yeah. But it's interesting, and it's not going to be too long before there's a serious club trying to sign him, and Brentford are going to have the fight on their hands to keep him, because you don't make this sort of impact in the Premier League over the amount of time that he has done without getting poached. It just doesn't happen. Like, Brentford just can't hold on to this guy for too long if he continues to score goals. He does. So, yeah, Toney, Haaland and Kane, it's the go-to front three. It really is.
Breaking news. We've got the Italy 11 for tonight's fixture. Nice and early. It looks like it's a 3-5-2, which is interesting because that's not a formation that won Italy the Euros. So we knew there was likely to be a change in shape. Donnarumma plays in goal. The back, we've got Bonucci captain with Acerbi and Toloi. Both were in that Euro squad. The two other centre-backs, they both got some minutes, but they weren't starters. Right wing back, we've got Di Lorenzo, who was the starting in the Euros, Napoli captain. Left wing back, we've got DeMarco, who will fly forward at left wing back at Inter Milan. And then the midfield three, loads of injuries. So the likes of who was likely to start? Pellegrini at Roma. Many thought he might have a chance. Yeah. He's not playing, but Cristante is, with Jorginho and Barella. And then up top, it looks like it's a front two. Raspadori, who's recently moved to Napoli, and a squad man. And then Scamacca, who's also a squad man at West Ham.
Oh, Scamacca's starting, is he? Oh, interesting.
Scamacca starts. So he's given a bit of a few players a chance here. England have got a real chance if they go strong.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what the England team is. I think if England play the team I was expecting, which would be, I mean, the defence is probably the hardest to predict, but I'm expecting Bellingham and Rice in midfield, and then Foden, Kane and Sterling up front. And if that is what England go with, I think England win that game.
Yeah. I look forward to watching that game later. Eddie in the chat giving it the big one. Italy aren't in the World Cup. I know. But we did win the Euros. Let's stick with FPL. Stephen, who would you replace Martinelli with until game week 13? If you can reach Maddison, he's the guy. But you've got to find a little bit of cash there, haven't you? Like, most are selling I'm selling Martinelli for 6.3 if I can, and I'd be bringing in Maddison at 7.9. Like, how do I easily make that happen? Does that, a Perisic go down to a 4.1? Possibly, but Patterson might be injured.
Yeah, that's a tough one. Yeah, I'm actually looking at my midfield at the moment, and I hate it, actually. Just looking back at it, I'm like, what is it? Why is this my team? I don't like this at all. But yeah, that's an interesting one for who you would bring in for Martinelli. To try and look for some value here in terms of like who people are picking right now. I mean, Luis Diaz is 8.2, so that's quite a big step up to get to him. Gross would be like the next one, like most people have gone for. So yes, 6 million gross, but under De Zerbi, we don't know that he's going to play in the same way. I think I would back, though, Gross to play under De Zerbi, and I think that Brighton will still play entertaining football. So I wouldn't be totally put off by this managerial change at Brighton. I think that it's a good appointment, and actually it could be quite exciting.
Dan asks about Leeds. Some teams won't have played for a month, and Leeds are one of those teams because they had their fixture off last week, and then of course the international break. It's like a month, and then obviously the Queen's death and the postponements there. So Sinistera is a name I really like, and I was tempted to go there on wildcard. He's got a really tricky journey back from South America, so just err on the side of caution with that first game back. He might not be fit enough to play, or he might not be deemed fit enough to play because of that trip back from South America. I think Leeds play. I'm just looking now. Oh, they play on the Sunday. He might be all right.
Yeah, I mean, look, Leeds, they'd fallen off a cliff, really, hadn't they? They started the season so well, and then they lost to Brighton, drew with Everton, and got thrashed by Brentford. And then they haven't played since. So they've got some make-up time to do. But maybe they needed it. Maybe it's been a good break for them. Kind of go again.
Yeah. Mickey says, would you sell Saka or Paqueta for Zaha in game week 10? I would probably... I mean, if you can reach Paqueta to Zaha, that's a 6 million to a 7 whatever. Saka's obviously nearly 8 million. I think it's 7.9. So I'd sell Paqueta if you can, if you don't need those funds elsewhere. But obviously, funds are so important in this game. I wouldn't mind selling either of ththose players. I think Zaha's got good fixtures. What do you think to the Odegaard injury? Yeah, we saw Vieira play for Arsenal, didn't we? And he came and played in that number 10 role against Brentford. Great hit off the left foot in off the post. Odegaard, do we know much about his injury, Dean? I must admit that's not one I've followed at all.
I'm just trying to get an update on it now, actually. I know that they were quite concerned about it. I'm just trying to see if anything had gone on this week. It was his calf, but no. I think it'd probably be wise to steer clear of him for the comeback. Like, I don't think this is one that he's kind of come straight back from and playing that first game back. So, yeah, I'd be happy to get rid of him if I was you.
The Norway manager was quoted saying, we'll certainly see him in Norway either as a player, i.e. he'll play, or as a fourth coach. It means a lot to have him round.
Right. Yeah, I think it's going to be as a coach. I don't think Arsenal are going to want him playing at all. Like, if there's a chance he might be all right, they're not going to want to risk that at all. So, yeah, we'll have to wait and see. But it's quite, it feels a long way away, that next game.
Yeah, it does. Let's move on to our predictions, Dean. Take us away.
Okay, yeah. So top 4, no great surprise who I'm going to go with to win the league. I'm not budging on what I said at the start of the season. Not a chance. I think people will be a bit surprised to see who I stick with at 2 as well, because I'm still going with it. Man City are first and Liverpool are second.
Oh, okay.
Over the course of this season, I still believe that, these are the 2 best squads in the country. And that should pay off. Like Liverpool, as soon as you put Jota and Thiago back into that team, you saw their identity return. You saw them playing differently. You saw a new life in Salah. And I think they bounced back from this. The important thing to think about with Liverpool, because you look at the fixture list at the moment, it obviously doesn't look great for them, right? You think, oh my goodness, they're so far behind. I'm just going to get up the league table, make sure I'm right on exactly how these points work out, because it doesn't take a lot for Liverpool to get back amongst us. Liverpool have played 6 games and they're on 9 points, right? And you say, let's pick Tottenham, who are third. Tottenham have played 7 games and are on 17 points. Okay, so presume Liverpool win their game in hand. They're on 12 points, so they're 5 points behind. And then suddenly, 3 weeks after the return, it's Liverpool versus Man City. The second week back, it's Arsenal, right? So Liverpool play against Arsenal, and then they play against Man City. So the 2 best teams, as of right now, first and second, Liverpool have got to play them. So they can claw all those points back within 3 games of coming back, and they now have players returning. They will do it. Like, I'm very, very sure that by the time we get to, what will it be, game week 12, I reckon Liverpool will be within 3 points at the top of the league. Like, I just think people have written this team off far too easily. And
I think I might be one of them.
You just got to remember the pedigree of a team. Arsenal have zero pedigree as a team, right? They've been really impressive, like absolutely. I can't knock that. And like they've bounced back from their first defeat. Absolutely fair play. I still can't back them to finish ahead of Liverpool. There's no. I can't see that happening. The squad is not deep enough. Imagine Arsenal had as many problems in their squad as Liverpool have had so far this season, and how they would have coped. They would have lost all the games too. So Arsenal will go through a blip, and they will fall off. And I still think they'll be in that top 4 conversation, absolutely. But the surprise would be Man United. I mean, I said Man United, I think at the start of the season would make top 4. And again, I'm not budging on it because this league is too tight to call. Man United had a terrible start to the season for the first few games, and they're 5th in the league. They're on 12 points, and then 4th is Brighton. So Brighton aren't staying there. They've just lost their manager. So as you look at it right now, Man United make up that spot. Chelsea have got work to do. I'm not convinced about Graham Potter being able to turn things around as quickly as they're going to need that to happen. I think it might be a transitional season for Chelsea. And Tottenham's the hard one to leave out. I just don't trust him. Again, I just don't trust him.
Conte's going to get you, mate. Conte's going to get that.
He might. And I think, that's the one that I think will probably prove me wrong, to be honest. If anything, then maybe Tottenham sneak in. But I think Man United get stronger in January. I can easily see Ronaldo leaving in January and United signing a new striker, maybe another new forward, might not be a striker. Cody Gakpo has started this season at PSV in unbelievable form. Like Gakpo's getting assists and goals left, right, and centre at the moment. Watch out, because Man United will have been watching all of those matches and thinking, oh, maybe we actually needed him as well as Anthony.
Could have gotten cheaper in the summer as well.
Could have gotten cheaper, yeah. So look out for that.
Guys in the chat, let us know. The big question for me on this top 4 thing is who's going to finish second. Like Dean's just put a really good argument through to Liverpool, and I'm sitting there going, no, I've not got Liverpool second. And I perhaps I'm not fully on that. I think Liverpool this season might be slightly different and might be slightly struggling because the Champions League fixtures, the schedule this year for a squad that's had a few injuries is tougher than ever before. Let us know in the chat. Give us one word, the team you think is going to finish second. Right? I'm assuming you're all going to say City winning, so let's not even ask you the top 4. Give me that team in second. Will it be Spurs? Will it be Arsenal, Chelsea United, or Liverpool? Keen to know your take on that, guys. So let us know in the chat. Let's have a look at my top 4. I obviously went City. And then I went second. And apologies, guys. You'll notice the screen's a little bit blurry tonight. Our internet connection's a little bit weak, but hopefully you can still appreciate what's on screen. I've gone Arsenal, mate. I've gone Arsenal because I just think that the team's fit. They're not getting the injuries that like a Liverpool are, but also they're not needing to play in Europe each week in the same level. Like playing in the Europa, they can play their B team. And they will play their B team, I think. So I think Arsenal might pull up some trees. And look, Spurs, I've got to back my boy Conte. And then I think that 3rd, 4th, and 5th spot is so close between Spurs, Liverpool, and Chelsea. I think Liverpool, arguably that I could have put them 3rd. But I think United well outside the top 4. So that's where we differ, I guess. But A. Dawson's totally with you. He's got your top 4 too. Spurs 2nd, says Anida. And Inda's gone Spurs 2nd. And he's a Liverpool fan saying that.
Interesting.
Dread FPL is a Liverpool fan. He said Liverpool. I knew you'd say Liverpool, Dread. Nuclear Atom's gone Arsenal. Laura Liverpool. Eddie United. So yeah, that 2nd spot is completely mixed bag.
Yeah, it is. Look, Arsenal will be tested as soon as they come back because they got Tottenham at home and then Liverpool at home, like 2 massive fixtures. And that will really test where this team's at right now, how equipped Arteta is for these sorts of challenges. 2 of the best managers in the world, there's no doubt about it, right? So he's up against Conte, and then 7 days later comes up against Klopp. That is a proper test of him, and we'll have to see like what their squad's looking like. If Odegaard isn't fit, like someone else will get injured too. Like everyone will suffer some sort of setback in this international break. I'm pretty sure it usually happens. You'll be missing someone key. And for Arsenal, say it was Saliba. Say Saliba suddenly fell out of that team. after the start he's had, you can say, okay, well, that's fine. Well, you move Ben White back in, Tomiyasu can come back in at right back. So, no, that's not the success that they've had. Like Saliba has been the main man.
Yeah.
And I think that it doesn't take a lot for things to slowly fall apart. I'm just very skeptical of Arsenal because it's very, very difficult to suddenly leapfrog and get into that top two at the moment when the teams that have been so strong as Man City and Liverpool have been. And that's the thing. They've got so much to fall back on, so much memory there that they can just click back into gear at some point. And I know that it hasn't been there for Liverpool. And I know that they've been underperforming. And Van Dijk has been nothing like his normal self, and nor has Salah. But that will not continue for an entire season. Like, there is absolutely no way I see that continuing. The other thing that we have to consider too is the World Cup. Those 2 game weeks leading into the World Cup are going to be a shambles. How can players suddenly, be going into a World Cup, like literally, like they got 1 week's preparation or whatever? Their eye's going to go off the ball. So I think game weeks 15 and 16? They'll be really tricky game weeks because players are going to get a little knock and they'll be like, I'm not playing this game, because they're going to be putting the World Cup at risk. So that's the other thing to consider here too, is that, those final 2 game weeks before we go on pause, then the fact there is a pause for like 4 or 5 weeks, and then you come back into an absolutely manic schedule. And probably everyone's panicking in that January transfer window, seeing what they actually need and addressing issues that they didn't think might have been there.
Guys, the relegated question is a big one. So in the chat, I'm keen to know the teams you think are going to get relegated. Before we show what Dean put and before we show what I put, let's assume everyone's going to say Bournemouth and everyone's going to say probably Forest. Who's that third team that gets relegated? It's going to be one of the big boys. So is it going to be a Southampton? Is it going to be an Aston Villa? Is it going to be a Leicester? If you think it's going to be one of those big teams that I've just mentioned, a Leicester, a Southampton, or a Villa that gets relegated, show us that by hitting the like button. I'm really interested to know. We're on 39 likes at the moment. If we get up to 50, I'll know that is like most of you are thinking it'll be one of those teams. Already in the chat, FPL Focus has said Leicester. I'm 1974 said Southampton or Everton. Interesting, Everton. They just beat West Ham. Give us a like if you think there's going to be a big team that gets relegated this year. That's pretty much what we're saying here, because I think Fulham are going to stay up. Dean thinks Fulham are going to stay up. There's going to be a big name going down. If you think so, hit the like button. Dean, you've gone Forest, Leicester and Bournemouth. You reckon Leicester might be the one?
Mate, they're bottom of the league with 1 point. Like, this is a bad start to a season. Brendan Rodgers warned them of this almost a year ago now. Spoke to the board and was like, we've got serious issues we need to address. The squad's going stale. Leicester had already been through a blip at this point. And he addressed it with the board and was like, we need to freshen up this squad. And they didn't do it. Like, the summer transfer window was not enough for Brendan Rodgers to get the back end he needed. At the moment, the mannerisms of Brendan Rodgers, the way he's coming across, I'm not sure. I mean, he's not going to quit this job, but
They
I'm
can't
not
afford
sure
to sack him. It's 20 million, isn't it, to get rid of him?
Yeah, but this is the thing, isn't it? He can't really lose, can he? He either keeps his job or he gets a massive payoff. And I think probably he would quite like that payoff at the moment, because it's going to take a wondrous piece of coaching to turn this situation around for Leicester. Not only do they have 1 point, so they're 5 points adrift at the moment in the drop zone. Wolves are 17th. Wolves haven't done much this season, but they have been tight. Wolves have conceded 7 goals this season.
Is that it?
Leicester have conceded 22. Leicester have conceded 22 goals. So Nottingham Forest are next behind them with 17 conceded. Nobody else in the whole league is conceding anywhere near this. Actually, Bournemouth is 19, because obviously they got absolutely smashed for 9. But that's a bit, so that you kind of have to take that one game out of context a bit. But to concede 22 goals in 7 games, have won none, have a solitary point, have your manager's future up in the air, have had the goalkeeper gone, Kasper Schmeichel. Like, it's so un-Leicester for Kasper Schmeichel to have suddenly gone and to not really have a contingency plan. Like, I know we all started in FPL with Leicester goalkeepers, but we were quickly jumping off them because it's been horrendous. And on top of that, obviously losing Fofana, so much doubt around 3 or 4 other players. James Maddison cannot get them out of this on his own. They don't have a reliable source of goals at the moment. Jamie Vardy's not scoring. Patson Daka showing good signs, but at the moment, not enough for me. Leicester have just got a lot of work to do. Like, as we sit here right now, I have to say Leicester. I have to. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter about whatever else they've done. I can't see how you have no wins after 7 games and get out of this.
We had 2 likes saying Leicester. I'm surprised at that. I must admit, it's a very good argument you've put up there, Dean. I think Leicester will stay up because of Maddison, Barnes and Vardy and Daka in that show. I think there's enough goals there, but they have got to sort that defence out. They've got a new set-piece coach. I've also gone for Forest and Bournemouth. I've gone for another team that's a big name. If you agree with me here, I'm keen to know. So we had 2 for Leicester in the likes. If you agree with my name here, hit that like button if you think Aston Villa are going to go down. Lungani, Steven Gerrard must be sacked before it's too late. Lungani, I'm hoping we get a like for that. A few said Wolves, by the way. Alex, Laura, A. Dawson, Aninda all think Wolves. A few Southamptons. Any for Aston Villa. If you think Aston Villa are going to go down, hit that like button. I think only one of you is with me on that. Only one like there. Fair play. I don't love the manager. I'm going on managerial potential here. I'm just going Gerrard's the wrong appointment for this team. This team that has spent so much money, they're signing midfielders and centre backs that Champions League teams wanted. Like, huge wage bill now at Villa as well. I'm just surprised how underwhelming they've been. That game on Friday night and game week 8, when they beat Southampton, is the worst Premier League match I think I've ever watched on Sky Sports. and bad, meanwhile, Fulham Forest was being played, and it was an absolute cracker. Gutted.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm going Villa. You think Villa will be all right, Dean, or do you think it'll be close?
I don't think that they'll go down. I don't. I think that you just go through the squad, and I just think that they've got too much experience and they're too good. I just think that there are players, there are other teams down there. I think Wolves will manage to get out of it because I think if Bruno Lage carries on like this for much longer, he'll be gone, and they'll make a smart appointment. I guess the one thing you could argue is, well, West Ham aren't going to stay down there. They'll get themselves out of it. Palace probably will claw away from it a little bit. So
agreed.
It's feasible that they'll find themselves like scrapping just above it. But I'm not sure Steven Gerrard can take a team down, can he? I mean, he was the best thing Scotland had ever seen in the SPL. And now you're telling me he's the worst thing we've ever seen if he's taking Villa down, because they weren't a bad team when he took them over.
Yeah. Interesting takes there, guys. I'm looking forward to seeing your comments in the chat. I'm just scrolling through. I've seen Wolves, I've seen Southampton, I've seen a few Villa, a few Leicester. There we go. Thank you so much for playing along in the chat, though. That was loads of fun. I enjoyed that with the likes. And look, guys, you know we're never afraid to ask for some likes on this channel. You help the channel grow by hitting that like button and building the community we have in the chat. So do also hit that subscribe button when you can as well. Lovely to have you. If you think Haaland is a good striker, guys, please show if you agree and like the video. Do you know what, Eric? That is absolutely genius. Cheers, FPL Focus. You got our back.
Everyone give Eric a like. Yeah, that sounds good. Nice one.
Haaland has been amazing. Matty, good question here. I'm glad you're changing the subject because Solanke is getting so much love and I don't get it. A couple of friends of mine who went on the FPL pod the other day were building Solanke up, and I watched the video today and commented on Lee's video saying, if either of you buy Solanke, I'll eat my hat. Like, it's just not, surely I cannot comprehend people that really know what they're talking about tipping Solanke. Do you know why I wouldn't recommend Solanke? Rule number 1, he plays for Bournemouth. Like, are you really backing a Bournemouth attacker to score goals every week?
How many goals has he got?
I don't know. Has he even scored?
I'm struggling to remember him score a goal.
Yeah, he started the season playing second striker to Kiefer Moore.
I literally cannot remember Solanke scoring. I mean, he might have one, but someone will be able to check this out quicker than me.
He's got 2 assists and a goal. Okay.
He's got one goal.
No, sorry,
He
one
has
assist. Yeah.
got one goal. Not happening. David,
Yeah.
Dean, what are your thoughts on Willian as an FPL option? I wasn't hot on this transfer, but to be fair, Willian has done okay. I don't think he really suits the way that Fulham play. But then I was speaking to a friend of mine at halftime in the Forest game. I was like, I just don't like Willian in this team. And then before you know it, Willian is the one that kind of pulls something out the bag and makes things happen. So the one thing I would say is he's on a wavelength that actually not many of this Fulham team can get to. Like he's got a proper caliber in the game, and he's played at the very top, club wise and international wise. So that combined with the fact that he can pick out Mitro is probably makes him somebody to consider. I wouldn't be jumping on him right now because we have also got other options, and there will be more players coming into contention for his place soon once we get some players back. So don't jump on him, but let's see how he starts after the break.
Do note those that have got Andreas and that might want to play him. Willian has taken, I think, corners off him on one side. A little bit annoying for Andreas Pereira owners that he'll have some of those set pieces, Willian.
That's true.
What would we do with Saka with a midfield of Martinelli, Zaha, and Maddison? Okay, you are going to have to drop your Arsenal players with game week 12 in mind. You're not saying sell them all, but with that in mind, I think I'd probably sell Saka and try and Kane up front, Haaland, Mitro. Yeah, would you sell Saka with a midfield? Depends who you're selling him for. I mean, you've already got Maddison, and you've already got Zaha. So probably just stick and then sell for game week 12. I mean, unless you want to move to Man City mid, you might want to have a little play with Foden, maybe. I think there's a bit of fun in that.
Yeah.
Let's move on. We'll get to a couple
Is that England team
questions.
Out yet, by the way? Is Foden playing?
Yeah, it is. I think Saka's playing left wing back. I saw Maguire starts. I saw Bellingham starts. Kyle Walker at centre back with Dyer and Maguire. Then you got Reece James right wing back, I think, and then Saka left wing back with Bellingham in the middle with Rice. And then Foden gets the start.
Foden, Kane, and Sterling, is it? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll go 2-0 England.
Oh, I'm going to go 1-1. 1-1. I just can't say. I just cannot give the. I cannot give the England. Yeah,
no, it's fine, mate. I wouldn't want you to. I absolutely would do the same.
I want Reece James to have a worldie though. It's a big game for Reece James. He is so close to Gareth going. Yeah, we'll give him the number one right wing back spot. And the competition there we know is so high with Trent.
I don't think Trent will go to the World Cup.
I don't either.
I don't think there's any need for him to go to the World Cup. I think England have got 4 options they could use ahead of him. Trippier can play right or left, and then you got others that can play on the right. Don't need him. Him. Madness. But I don't think it'll happen.
He wasn't going to go to the Euros until there was the extra announcement of the extra player that they put in.
Makes him a good FPL asset though. Injured. After the break.
Yeah. Salah no World Cup, Haaland no World Cup, and potentially Trent no World Cup. 3 of the game's best players. Yeah. And Linda asks about Isaac or Tony. Isaac has withdrawn from the Sweden squad. Just monitor that. But even without that, let's say they're both fully fit. I still prefer Tony.
I haven't watched full games of Isak. I've seen the highlights, and in the highlights, I was like thinking he was doing reasonably well. But I was reading quite a bit actually about reaction to how he's actually been doing. People don't seem totally impressed by him. I think they can see the potential of him, and they think he'll have good games, but they also tend to think he'll be patchy. So it might just be that he needs a little time to settle. There's no doubt this guy is a very, very good goal scorer. Yeah. But yeah, it was interesting reading Newcastle reports about him.
I'm interested to know more about what Leicester do with their striking options. Daka, Iheanacho, Vardy. We know it's usually only one of them that plays. Daka's had a little run. Tiffany's asking about Daka. I still think it's a massive minutes risk. And I don't think Brendan Rodgers knows where he's going there. But Daka's meant to be the replacement for Vardy long term, isn't he?
Yeah. Yeah, when he signed, I thought it was a really good signing. Like Daka he's got really good standing in the game. He's definitely got the potential to be a really good finisher in the Premier League. I think you feel like when he has confidence, he fancies himself to finish off pretty much anything. but he's playing in a team that haven't got any confidence, and that's worrying. So that's where my concern will come in with Daka. He needs for Leicester to be playing well, to start winning for starters. Like that, that's what he needs. They start picking up some wins, maybe I'll be convinced.
Yeah, that little run, didn't he? I think it was the end of last season. Him and Iheanacho were scoring every week, but yeah, it just didn't happen. Dan, do we know how many wildcards are active this game week? Good question. I don't. I expect it will be slightly fewer than last week, actually. So no, I don't know the answer to that. I'm sure follow the Premier League, official Premier League on Twitter, and they will be tweeting about it, or probably already have. So it might be worth looking back through. But my play to you is, if you have your wildcard still in your pocket, now is the time to use it, or game week 13. Just evaluate the strengths and weaknesses of both. Depends what you want to do with Arsenal, Man City assets. If you think you're going to want to sell them and then bring them back because you want triple Arsenal from 13, that's a nice time to wildcard. If you're not too worried about Arsenal and you're happy with just one, then potentially you can go now and wildcard with just a Martinelli in.
Absolutely.
Oh, Onana's looked good, hasn't he? He's such a good player. I don't know if is he going to be an FPL option though, Onana?
I don't think I would be interested. Would you?
Probably not for an FPL. I'd rather go Gordon, who's probably a similar price point.
Did you go Gordon in the end, by the way? Did you?
I did go Gordon. And the problem with Freemium is I had Bailey and Gordon in my 11. And each week I'm going to have to play one of these guys usually. And it's like, you just can't bank on your 5.5 mids to do well. Yeah. Onana is 4.9 though. It's cheap.
That is cheap, yeah. I mean, there's not many.
Andreas Pereira's better, isn't he?
I think so. I think so. I don't think there's any need to be going there right now, especially to replace Odegaard. There's one for you. Who to captain game week 9? Haaland, Bowen, Tony, or Mitrovic?
I mean, game week 9 is going to be so interesting. Definitely not Bowen. I don't even know why people own Bowen, if I'm honest. I'd go Maddison over Bowen, and I'd go Maddison captaincy if you want a real fun punt. But Mitro plays Newcastle, his old team, at the Cottage. I could see goals there, but Tony goes to Bournemouth. I'm going to be captain Haaland though, Eddie, all day long. But if you want to go rogue, Tony and Mitro, good options.
Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah, I don't know who I'll captain. I mean, I'll have Haaland. I'll have Kane, who obviously has got a North London derby. I do fancy Mitro in that game though. I think Fulham will beat Newcastle, to be honest. I don't normally get too confident, but as things stand right now, Fulham... There's a very good vibe around the place, and like the fluidity of the team and the way they're understanding their roles. And like João Palhinha is absolutely unbelievable. I just got a feeling that Fulham actually overrun Newcastle and win that.
Yeah, fair play. Last question before we go. 7 o'clock has just hit. Nuclear atoms. Can Sterling be a neat differential on wildcard? He can be nuclear. I'd still give it another week or two of watching how Potter plays, but we know he was the most advanced player on the pitch in that one game we saw of Potter.
Yeah, I think it is a time to consider Sterling definitely very seriously. I think Potter's going to love him. I think at times it will look like he's playing a weird role at wing back, whatever, but actually he's just playing as a very, very advanced forward. We've seen the joy that Brighton have had from their wing backs this season so far. Yeah. And the positions that they've been getting in, and Chelsea are going to look to do the same thing, but with better players.
Yeah. One to monitor, and he's 10 million, so you can maybe go freemium easier if you go with someone like Sterling. Good question, Nuclear. Guys, we'll see you again. On Monday at 7, back to the normal time. Before you leave us, give us a like and subscribe, of course. Good luck to those watching England, and good luck to those supporting Italy this evening. The coverage has started on Channel 4 in the UK, so do go check that out. And guys, we will see you next week. He's been Dean, I've been Gianni, and we've been chasing Green Arrows.